Welcome back to part 2 of Artist Talk with Takia Crystal Keymah.
Hi.
Journey to In Living Color. What was that like? How did you end up doing In Living Color?
Happenstance.
You started your natural hair journey very early, before natural hair was a thing.
The whole little survey. I decided to change my name when I was about, I would say 7 or 8 years old.
But tell me the truth. Did you ever on that In Living Color set look over at the Fly Girls and think, I could do that?
Oh, more than that. Oh, yes. And somebody will tell you who you are, and you might not like that person, but they'll offer you shiny things to be that person, and you'll take the shiny thing because you hadn't thought about it.
Takia Crystal Keymah is enjoying her eclectic life. She's best known for her starring roles on the television shows In Living Color, Cosby, and That's So Raven. Takia is a writer, director, producer, and educator. She is a minister, an activist, an artivist, and so much more. Takia holds many titles. She plays many characters. But to me, Takia is friend. So I'm excited to introduce to you my friend, my roommate at the Florida A&M University, Miss Takia Crystal Keymah. So many things in between, and then you become the one and only daughter of the Cosby Show, the second Cosby Show, when they had one daughter.
Yeah.
And how was that?
So wonderful. In fact, I was just recently watching Cosby on a online platform. Mm-hmm. And when I said, Living Color was so hard, almost all the shows after that were, Cosby taught me so much. Dr. Cosby taught me so much. Mm-hmm. Doing the show taught me so much because we worked quickly, and our schedule was we would come in Monday, read the script, and go home. And then he would meet with the writers who rarely listened to him for some reason. Like after a few shows, get the hint. Just do what it says. So I stopped bringing the script home with me because Tuesday it would be a completely different script. It'd have the same title, the show title, but it'd just be completely different. We would rehearse that, and then Wednesday we'd get a new script, and it may or may not bear any resemblance to Tuesday's script. And then we'd rehearse, and then Thursday we'd get a new script, and it was usually pretty similar to Wednesday's script, but often with lots of changes. And we shot the show on Thursday. We shot twice. We shot in the afternoon, and then we got pages during our dinner break. And then we shot again that evening with the new pages. And so I developed a habit of eating scripts. And what I mean by that is I read it, we can tape it. It's in there. I got it. Let's do it. But completely short-term memory. Completely. I could not tell you an episode of that show, save maybe the first episode. And so we had so many incredible guest stars on that show, and then just people that were hanging out, friends of Dr. Cosby's that just was hanging out, like, you walk, and his room was here and then a little bit further than my room. So I had to pass his room. So don't be late. It's like, coming home late from a date. Shug, sir, I had the train. It's wonderful. And the young people that, I'm watching, I'm going, oh, that kid looks familiar. What is that? Who is that? Oh my God, that's Michael B. Jordan.
Are you serious?
One of the kids. Yeah. So many people came through that show. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And, you know, I tell people, and it was another one of those kind of happenstance things. I was away doing a show, a theater show in Russia, and with yeah, with CCH Pounder and Lorraine Toussaint, and we're having a ball. Yeah, and Jeffrey Sams and Oz Scott, who directed the show, and John Henry Redwood, God rest his soul. We were doing The Old Settler, and with this wonderful collaboration with the Moscow Ministry of Culture. I don't know if they do that collaboration anymore. It was with the Eugene O'Neill Center. At any rate, we're chilling, talking about how fly we are for being in Russia, do the play, you know, talking about, and then we're talking about how we're gonna go home and not have a job. And I said, well, you know, you never know, because by the time we get home, people will be recasting shows. So we might get, you know, a job that was somebody else's job that, you know, thinks they got a job now. So back up to when the show was brewing, because the town was on fire with Bill Cosby's having another show. Bill Cosby's gonna have another show. Everybody's, oh, okay, what do I do? What do I do to get on that show? But I was on another show. I was on the show called The Show, which was a very short-lived, wonderful little show on Fox that was kind of a parody of In Living Color. But at any rate, John Bowman's show, wonderful, I love him. But I was contracted to that show when they were looking for people originally for Cosby, so I couldn't audition for it. And sure enough, while we were away, they were recasting. They decided to make some changes in the show. And I get back and my agent says, hey, we've got an audition for you for Bill Cosby's new show. And I thought, oh, okay. Wow, okay. But here's the kicker. You didn't ask for the story, but you got it anyway. My agent goes, he wants to talk to you before you come in. And I said, who? She said, Bill Cosby. And I said, oh, no, I couldn't talk to him. She said, no, he wants to talk to you. And oh my, that was so, I don't know how I lived through the anxiety of having to do that. They give me a number. I call the number, someone says, hold on, and then Bill Cosby comes to the phone. And I'm talking to Bill Cosby. And we've never talked about this, but I really believe that he decided to hire me in that phone conversation. I don't think it was the audition. I think that there was something about me, he might have heard how terribly nervous I was and just felt sorry for me. I'm not sure. but there was something, I've always thought that part of him at least made the decision in that phone call. But I talked to him and I talked to him about the show and what they wanted, what they were looking for, and then auditioned and got a call back, and in 2 weeks, I was moving to New York. Yeah.
How do you feel about everything that's happened with him in current years?
Absolutely and utterly brokenhearted. I couldn't say enough good things about him. There's not time. I love him absolutely. I have absolute faith in him. I have known him. I'm shocked at how long I've known him now. But I saw him 4 days a week for 4 years. And like I said, I passed his room and I went in there and sat with him and talked to him and met the whole world with him. and watched him, because I'm an observer of people. And I watched him with the world that came back and forth. And in that little time, I never saw anything that would give me any indication that any of this horror was justified. In addition to that, because I went back and forth between following the story, because I was shocked. This is going to go away. Surely this is not going to go. They're doing what? They're doing what? They're trying him just shamelessly in the media. They're creating talk shows for people to vilify him. They're saying nothing about the people who have been caught in lies against him. Here's what I have to say. We live in a country where men have gotten away with horrible treatment of women for hundreds of years. So, and certainly in the 50s and 60s, it was open and blatant. Men would flash women and they wouldn't go to jail, right? Men would pinch women and they would not go to jail or be arrested. They bad things happened to women and women sucked it up. So if Bill Cosby participated in some behavior that men appeared to be allowed to participate in the 50s and 60s, well, actually, you can't try him for that because the statute of limitations is up. But if you're going to make up something for now to try him for that, fill the jails with men. Fill the jails with men. And I am an advocate for speaking against sexual violence, domestic violence.
Yeah, you are.
This movement of accountability of men perpetrating sexual violence against women, then tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And if you don't have a case with the truth, then you don't have a case. But stop playing. Stop playing, America. Stop pretending that you give a flying fig about women. Stop playing entertainment industry. When I will believe that the entertainment industry is serious about sexual violence against women when the female cops stop wearing black. Oh, look at me. Sorry.
Come on.
But when female detectives are no longer in heels, running down the street, then I'll start believing. When female doctors aren't all sexable, when women don't wake up in makeup, then I'll start believing. When women are not, when you stop having ridiculous sex scenes for no reason, where the women are butt naked and men are fully dressed, then I'll start believing you are serious. Until then, child, please. Just stop. I love my dad. You are so sorry you asked me that.
No, not at all. Never. No. So then you go with many, many things in between again. You wind up as Raven Simone's mom in That's So Raven.
Yeah.
And before we talk about your exit from that, just tell us a little bit about how that experience was for you.
Well, that's the second time I yelled at the TV for no reason. Because, and I tell people that, because I think everybody on earth knows that I was raised by my grandparents and great-grandmother. And Cosby gave me parents. And not just parents. Bill Cosby and Felicia Rashad. Who didn't want to be a Cosby kid in the 80s? I didn't know that. White, black, green, blue. Everybody wanted to be in the Huntsville house when I was coming up. And That's So Raven gave me children. God has not, blessed me with either in this life, for any long time at least. But when we did That's So Raven, it was a very odd and new experience for me, because I had always done shows that were already sold and going to air, or at least that's what it seemed like because of what happened. We shot the whole first season of That's So Raven and had no air date. So in my mind, oh, that show's not going to happen. I went back home. And then they called and said, well, we're on. Like, what? The show, the thing we did before, we're doing it again. Oh, okay. Raven is phenomenal. Raven, and it's weird because, when you're creating a character, there's lots of different components to it. And outside of the work that I do at home, when I'm playing, I have additional relationship work that I do that's based on actors, the chemistry that I have with actors. And just like when I did Cosby, I studied Bill Cosby and Felicia Rashad. And I put, and their characters, Hilton Lucas. I studied Hilton Lucas and Ruth Lucas. And I put Hilton Lucas and Ruth Lucas into Erica Lucas. And if you watch the show, you'll be like, oh, Erica, hey, she does that little kind of Ruth kind of thing. Oh, that's a little, because people are like their parents. And so the same thing with Raven, I studied her and I studied Kyle, and I said, how would they have become like this? They would have become like, if I were a little like this and a little like this. And that alone for me helps me fall in love with them. But it was so easy. It was so easy because they were so adorable. And well, Kyle's just, he was just a little baby. And Raven, there was the disconnect between the actor that because you've seen them do something, and this character that they're playing right now that has a relationship with you. And I remember we did something early on. It was maybe one of the first 3 episodes. And Raven Baxter made a face at her mom, and Takia saw Olivia from the Cosby Show. And I thought, oh, that's a little baby. And right away, that bursting with love feeling, I recognized is a mom feeling. And I said, of course I'm going to accept that, because I hadn't played a lot of moms before that. And so I kept that with me, and I used it for both of them. That burst of love when you look at, when you look at your baby and go, that's a baby. And so back in the time where, we didn't know what the show was doing, and then it got picked up, I was at somebody else's house, and I see the promo, and I didn't know anything about it. We didn't do the promos, just the children did the promos. And I saw them and I screamed out, my kids are on TV. I forgot who I was. I forgot it was a show. I just saw my children on TV and I started screaming. And my niece, I think the relative of one of my sisters-in-law. And they're like, what do you mean your children? What do you mean? I was like, oh, right. Well, I did this show. This show is those, and they played my children. Oh my goodness, I love them. I miss them. And so, yeah, it was just wonderful. It was having that experience of watching, of being their mom, being Rondell's husband, who is hysterical and sweet, being his wife, rather, him being my husband. And watching Raven, who is such an amazing performer. And I think both of us started performing when we were very, very young. Me in my grandparents' living room, her on every living room in the world. And to see her come into this space where she has her own show, if I hadn't been on the show, I would still be so proud of her. And now to see her in this sequel show, Raven's Home, and I actually, before the pandemic, right before the pandemic, I visited her on the set, and it was like, I am not crying. I'm just, yeah, it was, I love her. I love her. I love both of them, all of them.
Oh. And you had to leave the show. You made the choice to leave the show.
Yeah.
To take care of grandmother.
Yeah. So what happened when it started when Cosby wrapped. When Cosby wrapped, I had been working constantly since probably 88, just always had 2 jobs, always, like all the time. And I was really, really tired. And then I had an awful, awful boyfriend. So I needed a vacation. And I said, when this show wraps, I'm gonna take some time off and just chill and do nothing. But I booked a show. I booked Raisin in the Sun at the Goodman Theater in Chicago. So I went home and I'm doing Raisin in the Sun.
What role? What role?
Beneatha, yes. God bless my knees. I did Beneatha. I wore Beneatha out, and Beneatha wore my knees out, and they had to bring my dressing room down to the stage level because I couldn't do that dance and climb up those iron stairs to my 3rd floor dressing room anymore. But that's another story. I got a couple of stories about that show. But on my days off, I would hang out with my grandmother. And that's when I first noticed that something was wrong. And it went from something is a little off to, oh, let me just fix this real quick, to something's really wrong here, to I gotta go get me a job because whatever's going on is gonna cost some money. And so I really took the show That's So Raven quickly. I didn't think about it. It was like, it's a thing. Yes. Tell me yes. Yes. And then we did that year and it didn't air. So I went back home to take care of my grandmother. And we had moved her by then. The plan was to move her into my sister's house. And because by then she'd been to my house once and I couldn't find a good caregiver. I couldn't find a live-in at all. And so the caregivers would let her nap during the day. And so I'd be up working during the day, then I'd be up with her all night. She was fresh. And we couldn't keep that up. And so they brought her home, cut to now we've remodeled my sister's house so that grandmother could be at her house. And then I get the call that the show's picked up. And my sister, you going where? I go, it's cool. I'm going to take her with me. And off we went. And I said, God, you got me right. And God said, I'm on it. And the day before the show started, I got the first caregiver. Later that day, my grandmother had her first seizure, and we were in the ER all night until I said, okay, when we left the hospital, I dropped them off, changed clothes, and went to work. And that was my life for the next several years. So by the time, and the contract, the verbal contract was 3 years. We do 3, because up until then, I think they'd only done 3 years. the other Disney shows had only done 3 years. So I believed them and thought it was a 3-year gig. And it got increasingly hard because I had her training. She had become Joe Frazier by the end of the 3rd year, and I couldn't keep a caregiver, and I was bringing her to work with me. And Orlando and Kyle's moms would watch her when I was on the set. So that just, we couldn't keep that up. And I was coming to work earlier and earlier every day because she did not enjoy getting out of the car. She would get in the car, but she did not enjoy getting out of the car. So I had to leave more and more time for coaxing. Come on, it's time to go to work. Yeah, we got to go to right in that building. We're going to go right. So, you know, at the end of the 3 years, I said, you know, I can't keep this up. Something's got to give. It's not going to be perfect. It's not.
Wow, blessing.
I was so fortunate to have the kind of job. I mean, no one else could have brought her to work. That wouldn't have happened. So, you know, and I was the only one with no spouse and no children. So I had room in my life and in my house and in my career to do all of that stuff. And I'm grateful. I feel like it was her last gift to me. It was hard, but I feel like it was her last gift to me. And the people that didn't come around and go through that, they're the ones that missed out.
You said you didn't have children. So let me tell you, you are delusional. Because you have children all over this country, and probably by now all over the world. But I know that you have children all over this country. You have been nurturing and mentoring for as long as I've known you. So there are people today that have careers as artists because of you.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you have many children, my friend. Speaking of, though, but before we go on, I do want to know, when you say that was your grandmother's gift to you, what do you mean?
That she took us in. She raised us, and 3 of my siblings moved into a bungalow house. So 4 children, ages 8 to 2, moved into a bungalow house where my grandparents, my grandmother and grandfather, lived with her ailing mother, her ailing brother, one of his brothers, and his teenage daughter. Don't ask me where everybody slept. But at some point, my grandmother was the only adult working in that household. She took us in when I was 2 years old and mourning the death of my mother. And I appreciated it with no understanding of what that was. And while she was mourning her daughter. So, and this is one of the first stories. I'm slowly writing a book. I'm slowly writing a book about this experience. I can't get through much because I start crying. but one of the first stories that I wrote was this story that I came to her like that. And then she came to me like that. Because when she came to me at some point, she was like a 2-year-old. She was not completely communicative. She wanted her own way all the time.
I know.
And there was a time, because she would go back and forth in time, and she wanted her mother, not me. And at some point, she was freshly mourning her mother, who had passed decades earlier. And, you know, I won't share the story. I'm going to save that for my book, but there's a really good story about one of the something happened every day that she was with me. And the book, the titles of the book are The Day That, The Day That. So the day that something specific happened, that was supposed to be a quick trip. She was living at a facility at the time here in California, where one of her childhood friends was living, which we thought would be a good thing, but it wasn't, because the friend didn't have dementia, didn't understand dementia, kept saying, Mary doesn't understand. Like, so I was, you know, what was supposed to be a quick trip to pick her up to take her to the doctor turned out to be all day and all night thing. And I thought, oh, she's showing me how she felt, so I would really understand. Because my whole life, where she was concerned, I just wanted to pay her back some way. I just wanted to pay her back. I remember this one time when I was really little, she was pretty mean. And she was yelling at me for something that I may have done. And we were very bad. We were bad. And I remember speaking into the universe. Yeah, you don't like me, but the rest of these people don't like you. And I'll be the one that takes care of you when you're old. And I remember thinking that thought. So I didn't say it out loud, of course, but I remember thinking that thought so clearly that I feel like I put it into the universe. And then it came back to me. And the universe said, remember what you said? It's now. It's happening now. And I feel like, because it was what, a few years really, where my whole life she supported me, hated that I was in entertainment, tried her best to berate me out of it, and came to every show until she couldn't anymore, because she didn't know how to not support us. So how could I pay her back? I couldn't pay her back. But she gave me this little bit, these few years to try to a little bit pay her back. And I'm forever grateful for that. I'm forever grateful for that. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
I know
Yeah,
you know.
That's how you help me to see it. So I know she's so proud of you.
I hope so. I hope so.
I know that she is. So after you left Raven, you stepped in and you took care of your grandmother, and you know, from freshman year of college, I heard about grandmother, so I feel like she's my grandmother too. But you took care of grandmother, and then grandmother passed away, and you thought, I'm gonna go back. Let me go back to my career, or let me start. What did you think after that? What was your next move?
Floundering. That's the best way to put it. Floundering. I will say I haven't been the same since, because I don't think you're the same once you lose a parent. I think your spirit changes, because that person who was literally there from when you were born is not anymore, and you go, really? They gone? So it's like, no training wheels now, I'm on my own. But it was so, and one of the reasons why I'm writing the book is to finish that journey for myself, because I had always worked constantly, but this was a constant, and I'm telling you, I was on it. My only regret was not saving the things that I wrote when I was going through this, because I had this book of taking care of my grandmother that was for the caregivers, and it listed all the foods she could eat, which it was a schedule from the time she woke up in the morning till if she got up in the middle of the night. Nothing was left unsaid. So if you weren't a caregiver, all you needed was that book and you knew how to take care of my grandma. So when she changed, the book changed, because there were things that she could do at first. Have her do this, have her do this, have her repeat this, have her repeat that. Because there were affirmations and exercises. And then when she changed the way she was vocal, I changed, what she could do, because the first day she wouldn't do that. Why wouldn't she do that? Let's see, Granny, she can't do that anymore. Okay, so now I'll be right back. Okay, now this is the new thing. So it was constant. Because you couldn't have told me that I couldn't save her. So I was going to save her. So I had doctors in there. I had my acupuncturist in there. That did not go so well. She was never seen again. But I had masseuse coming in. We did it, and I was on it. And then, and I think the last time we talked, I was talking about going from living alone and loving it to having my grandmother and the caregiver, and then my angel of a sister and her angel of a daughter move in, and my cousin, our first cousin, who's another granddaughter, who is a CNA, came in with her daughter, and then another cousin. Full house, not counting the occasional paramedic. So after she passed, exodus. Everybody's gone, and I'm alone. And in shock, because I'm not just mourning my grandmother. I'm mourning every single version of her. Everyone. Because there was no time to mourn. There was just time to move on. Who are you today? Gotcha. This is what we're going to do for this version of grandma. There was no time to say, oh, I wish she could still. So I got rid of all my representation. And I remember telling my manager, she said, this is not good. You shouldn't do this. I said, unless someone is looking for a person to lay in the middle of the floor and cry, there is no point to be auditioning. Oh my God. She talked me into going in to audition. These people will never, ever see me again because I was so abominable. I remember walking the door thinking, I'm not going to cry. It's just not the way you should start an audition. And so I did nothing for the first time in my life because I could do nothing. And when I thought about performing, it was not just, it was distasteful to me because I realized that I had been performing for her and for my grandfather my whole life. And I felt like my audience was gone. And what was the point of it? And I realized when I was on That's So Raven, because, you know, she watched the show at the beginning, but there was a point where the caregivers would say, that's your granddaughter, she's on TV. And she didn't recognize me on TV anymore. And it started getting hard to be a performer. But I didn't think about it. I didn't make the association till much later that that's why it started getting hard, because it wasn't for her anymore, because she couldn't see it. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. I thought, why am I doing this? It was stupid. It was a stupid profession. I didn't belong to it. And the horrible thing was I couldn't think of anything else to do. So I don't know what I did for years. I don't, if somebody called me, okay, I'll do that thing. And it was work for the first time in my life. Many adventures, life and family adventures later, I realized that I did have a couple of other fans And I realized that there were things that I wanted to say with my art. And so I thought, well, yeah, let me get back out here and see what I
I'm so glad you did. You fought your way back. You literally fought your way back.
I did. I really did. And
So tell us about the Cool Crystal Show.
I am very, very excited. And you are one of the reasons why I'm doing this, Angela Robinson Whitehurst. Yeah, well, you are, because I was a little intimidated to go forward with it, and then I wasn't sure what it would be, and I didn't know how to sustain something. And then, in the pandemic, how am I going to pull this off by myself? It's not a live show where I get on stage and then I'm fine for a couple of hours. I have to be the crew, and I have to be hair and makeup and wardrobe and the painters and the contractors and set decorators and the prop people in the network and the studio and lots of other things. But the Cool Crystal Show, and why not include Granny in this? When I was very little, I did shows in my grandparents' living room. And it occurred to me during this pandemic that I had gone all the way back to the space of wanting to perform with no avenue. When I was little, I didn't know that there was such a thing as an agent or a manager or people who could get you jobs. So when I wanted to perform, I put on a show. So I decided to put on a show in my living room. And the show is a mixture of my newsletter come to life with literature and art and just stuff, and me rambling, which we all know now that I do well. And my live shows, there's excerpts from all of my live shows, and there are a lot of them, and even some new shows that have not seen the light of day yet, so they'll be seen for the first time, or they have been seen for the first time on the Cool Crystal Show. And it's and it's on a brand new platform. Keymah.com is my website, but the show is going to be on Keymah.com. Keymah.
Different and here for a reason.
If you missed part 1, check it out and subscribe. Come on, hit the button, subscribe. And don't forget to check out the Cool Crystal Show on Keymah.com. Thank you always for joining me. I'll see you next time on Artist Talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Elevate, motivate, create new things, relevant. You're a blessing, cause your gifting is truly heaven sent. Giving people hope for the future, pushing something new for the culture. Doing exactly what you're supposed to. Give them all something to hold on to. Yeah, you hear it, you feel it, they need it. Yeah, you write it, you sing it, it's healing.